بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Al-Quran of the Jews of the Quran spares, and we're still reading from Surah Al-Zukhruf. And what else we have reached? Verse 21. But the context, I think, is important to just to simply say a few words about what we have talked about in the last session, at least part of it, of course. The polytheists, the Meccan, the pre-Islamic Meccan polytheists worshipped idols, gods, if you will, while at the same time recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the creator of the universe, which is really, of course, contradictory, but this is the way things were. So believing in God, but at the same time worshipping other gods. And also they have considered the angels as daughters of God, females, and they have worshipped idols that, of course, from their perspective, depicted the angels, the daughters. So this context was the of these previous verses, and of course God reprimanded them, and this is something, of course, bizarre. Have they witnessed the creation of the angels as females? And we said that really the angels are neither female nor male. But their belief, their witness, their statements are on record, and they will be asked, they will be questioned, they will be held accountable for what they have said in this life. And they have claimed that had God willed, he would have protected them, he would have prevented them from worshipping these idols. And they have some of their fallacies. One of them is simply attributing offspring to God, whether female or male. This is absolutely unacceptable. The notion of the oneness of God in Islam, nothing is like unto him. There are no, of course, there are no. This also responds to the notion of the Trinity, the sonship of Jesus Christ, peace upon him. No one. Nothing is like unto him, just simply. And if had there been other gods, then each god would really fight with the other about the borders of their dominion, but no such a thing exists. And another false claim is that they have claimed that God favored the girls over the boys, while they themselves favored the boys over the girls. And the verse 18 about those who are brought up in fineries. These are women, and it's about jewelry and clothing and all these things. And I don't think anything has changed except when women have access, when they have the purchasing power, when they probably have plenty of that. This is not against women that they are brought up in fineries. They simply love jewelry and clothing and brand bags and all these and shoes and what have you. I did ask at Al-Aqsa Mosque, I asked if you'd like to call the congregation, the people who attended once that particular lecture, I asked them if anyone knows the brand of his wallet. None. And they were quite, um, the number was big enough. None of them could remember. None of them pays. Uh, I'm sure there are those who do pay ultimately, but none of them pays much money for a wallet. This is really something that one should remember. This is not the society raising girls to be as such. There's something innate, and this is not male chauvinism. This is not discriminatory. To the contrary, I mean, ultimately, there's someone in the family who has to pay for all this. Let's move forward, inshallah. So when they claim that that God could have prevented them, and that's also another false claim that it has been predestined, that they have been predestined to worship these gods, these uh, idols that uh, represent female angels. That's obviously nothing could be more wrong, because it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who in this revelation uh, brings it to their attention and warns them against all that they have done and they have said. And ultimately they would claim that as when we start reading with verse 22, they will also resort to the idea that, well, we found our forefathers doing this. أعوذ بالله السميع من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بل قالوا إنا وجدنا آباءنا على أمة وإنا على آثارهم مهتدون. In fact, they say we found our forefathers following a particular way. It's a religion here. Let's a particular way, a way of life, including religion, including their faith. And of course, these are made up things. Just if you look around the globe, you'll find many faiths that are absolutely man made. And even when we talk about originally communities of faith that are based on original revelation, their theologians, their clergy, they have created things over the years that are not compatible with the original message. Especially when we talk about changing the nature of God, but it goes beyond this. So they say, in fact, they say we found our forefathers following a particular way, and we are following in their footsteps. A religion, ummah, has many meanings in the Quran. The same word, ummah as the community, the pan-Islamic community. We don't talk about a small community, a community like in a neighborhood. Everyone is part of this community. The Muslims in Indonesia, the Muslims in Pakistan, the Muslims in Iraq, the Muslims in Morocco, the Muslims in Spain, the Muslims in Canada, in the Caribbean. all of them are part of this ummah. They are unified by this concept as a community of the faithful. Another meaning of the word ummah in the Quran, وَالذَّكَرَ بَعْدَ ummah, and he remembered after an ummah here, like some time. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Abraham, peace upon him, was described in the Quran as ummah, kana ummah. And though he is one person, it's as if by fulfilling, by living up to the divine commandments, by submitting himself fully to the will of God, he was considered an ummah. It's a very beautiful concept. And the unity of this ummah, فإن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون. So this verse talks about the Muslim ummah as being one, and one would wish that there are more that more steps could be taken to see this concept of the ummah manifest itself on the ground. They need it. We do need it. Look at the United States is United States. The European Union is a union between different countries, etc. So those polytheists and others would make the same claim. Everyone is born in a state of blind faith, except that even when you talk about kids being raised in a state of natural disposition, the fitrah, at the beginning, of course they don't have understanding what they might believe. But for the others, that's the way they found their religion, especially when religion now is messed up by ideology and nationalism and populism. And when nothing in the religion itself supports these things, especially when ideology uses biblical texts, for example, is not the only thing, like the story of the Amalek or the Joshua committing genocide in Jericho. That's a very dangerous path. So you find that this is in your the history of your forefathers, and the problem is that you imitate this. A political scientist, a Jewish political scientist, a very decent person, academic. We were colleagues at Bard College, upstate New York, and I visited him at home, and he told me that when he reads with his eldest son, the like in Genesis, or he does not, when he reaches these problematic texts, he does not read them with his eldest son. He's a political scientist. He understands that if he reads, he gives legitimacy. That's the importance of having a father who, of course, or a mother who understands the importance of what is it that you'd like to convey to children. وكذلك ما أرسلنا من قبلك في قرية من نذير إلا قال مترفوها إنا وجدنا آباءنا على أمة وإنا على آثارهم مقتدون. Similarly, whenever we sent a warner to a society before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's the mutrafun really what came to my mind when I read it. It's those who are spoiled elite. They are not being rich is not doesn't necessarily mean spoiled. Being rich does not necessarily mean that you do wrong things. But in this case, you talk about the spoiled ones. إلا قال مترفوها إنا وجدنا آباءنا على أمة وإنا على آثار مقتدون. Same. So those spoiled elite would say we found our forefathers following a particular way. The same argument. Ummah. And we are walking in their footsteps. Uh, what could be worse than Qarun, who was from the people of Moses. He was from the children of Israel, but he was on the side of the Pharaoh. He was very wealthy, beyond imagination. Uh, and this shows that sometimes very wealthy people might side with injustice because they simply are interested in preserving, expanding their wealth. They don't have the moral courage to face the authority at the time. No, they go along and they support, even against their own people. Nary a word that advocates justice. And the recipe is very clear. You need truth. What's witnessing? Even when we talk about Christian witnessing, and what's witnessing? If you don't witness in the sense of advocating the truth, and what's good if we talk about truth and we don't really advocate justice? And it is only then that we will have peace. Unfortunately, political leaders today would like to jump over these two prerequisites, and they think that in a fanciful way you can just simply having peace because you speak about it. قل أولو جئتكم بأهدى مما وجدتم عليه آباءكم قالوا إنا بما أرسلتم به كافرون. Each warner asked, or قال أولو جئتكم بأهدى مما وجدتم عليه آباءكم قالوا إن بما أرسلتم به كافرون. قال. So each warner would say, even if what I brought you is better guidance than what you found your forefathers practicing, they replied, we totally reject whatever you have been sent with. فانتقمنا منهم فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المكذبين. So we inflicted punishment upon them. See then what was the fate of the deniers. In verse 26, we begin with the story of, of course, the story of Abraham. Peace upon him is mentioned in different parts of the Quran. So we begin here in Surah Al-Zukhruf with verse 26. وإذ قال إبراهيم لأبيه وقومه إنني براء مما تعبدون. Remember, addressing Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when Abraham declared to his father and his people, I am totally free of whatever gods you worship, whatever gods. Abraham, peace upon him, was the iconoclast. He destroyed all the idols. He just kept one, the greatest in size and the greatest in their way of life. He knew that they would ask who did it, and when they returned from festivities, when they were away, and they returned and they found that all these idols that they have worshipped, these gods, were destroyed, broken, except for one. They asked him who did it, and he pointed to the to the large, oversized idol. And it's bad if you do, bad if you don't. What is it that you are going to do? If they tell him, no, he cannot do anything, this is simply a piece of stone, for example, then uh, why do you worship that piece of stone? If you make it, do not worship it. If you make it with your own hand, don't worship it. If you make it, like literally, you are creative and you create a god, like in the movie, The Lord of the Flies. If you make it, of course, originally you make it in your head, and then you know, you bring forth your project. If you make it, don't worship it. So, if they tell him this piece of stone does not do anything, does not do any harm, of course, it does not do any harm, except that by worshiping it, uh, one is a non-believer, and that's the sin that will never be forgiven. And if they accept the fact that he did it, that piece of stone, simply to save their face, they will live with that kind of defeat. They know deep in their hearts that these stones do not have any impact on their way of life. So he shunned what they believe, and that's a challenge for the whole society. So his father and his, so he is free of all these gods, and except for the one who originated me, who fashioned me, who created me. للذي فطرني فإنه سيهدين. Except for God, of course, who will surely guide me. Because these gods, these idols who were broken, they have neither created nor did anything in their short-lived history. It has been said that once someone came to buy one of these idols, an older man, and Abraham was there, and he asked him, how old are you? And he said something like in his 80s. And he asked him, Abraham, why would someone who's 80 years old or plus would worship a god that is 1 day old? Because they keep making these every day. But sometimes, even when it's very clear, people continue to do what their community, what their society has been doing for generations. وَجَعَلَهَا كَلِمَةً بَاقِيَةً فِي عَقِبِهِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And he left this enduring declaration among his descendants, so they may always turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. بل متعت هؤلاء وآباءهم حتى جاءهم الحق ورسول مبين. In fact, I had allowed enjoyment for these Meccans and their forefathers until the truth came to them along with a messenger making things clear. Now, I'm going to utilize the opportunity because Abraham is mentioned here, and I think it's there is a theme about Abraham being the about Abraham and that which is Abrahamic, and who are his descendants and what are their rights, and since we are practically towards the end of the session, inshallah, at the beginning of the next session, I will address this issue about the Prophet Abraham alayhi salam, and that which is Abrahamic and his descendants, inshallah. بإذن الله عز وجل. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.